Hey there, this is Brian Roisentul. I'm the host of the Fit Growth Machine podcast. And in today's episode, we are going to discuss how to scale the business faster by finding the right partners. But before we do that, let me tell you that this episode is brought to you by BSR Digital. At BSR Digital, we help e-commerce brands that want to scale their business to the next level through Facebook, Instagram, and Google Ads. And we also know that most e-commerce brands want to grow their sales, but they lack a solid plan and professional team to help them succeed. That's why BSR Digital offers strategic plans, implementations, optimizations, and account audits to help more than 1,000 e-commerce brands like yours grow their businesses and surpass their competitors. To learn more, you can visit us at bsrdigital.com, and also you can email us at hello@bsrdigital.com. Okay, so I told you we have a great one today, and I wanted to introduce you to Andrew Chapman. He's the Executive Director of Business Development for Skyhawks Sports Academy. Hey, Andrew, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. So please, why don't you tell the audience what the company does?
Yeah, so Skyhawks Sports Academy, we are like one of the leaders in sports camps and programs for youth across the country in the United States. So we offer, those traditional sports camps, those clinics, those classes for kids aged pretty much 18 months to 14 in a variety of different sports.
That's awesome. And this is not a new company, right?
No, yeah. This company was started in 1979 in Spokane, Washington. So we like to kind of think we're like one of the grandfathers of sports camps.
Wow, that's awesome. I can imagine that. You said 79, so many years. I wasn't even born then. It's like, hey, a lot of things must have changed since the beginning, right?
Oh yeah, lots of things changed, right? I mean, you start out, the marketing reach or paper. Everything was paper registrations and paper checks or cash, right? To register for programs. The knowledge, the curriculum that you're running out there, how do you find coaches? How do you get product out? Yeah, it has changed drastically since then for sure.
Yeah, I mean, probably back in 79, no e-commerce, no digital marketing, no, it was like, no, I don't know if not even computers. I don't want to be an ignorant, but it was like very manually, right?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I'm not. I mean, I was only probably a year old when it
Yeah.
first started, and so yeah, it kind of I couldn't really talk to them about when I actually used to coach and direct for them back in the late '90s. It was everything was still paper, phone calls, right? We weren't doing anything online.
That's awesome. So, what about you? What's your story? I know you have an interesting one.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I'm here with Skyhawks now, but I grew up, playing sports like many people do, trying to figure out what I wanted to do in the world. Didn't really know, and so I went off to college to kind of be that PE teacher. While I was in college, I realized, hey, I really liked soccer and the soccer background and wanted to kind of really coach it at a real competitive level. So I got a teaching degree, got a master's degree in sports administration, and got hired right out of college to be a head soccer coach and PE instructor. So I did that for 11 years, went in a couple college championships, while also working with a pro soccer team, coaching and general manager of a pro soccer team. And, it was a fun life. It was great experience, meeting a lot of fun people, but then it was time to figure out something new and something more family oriented. And lucky for me, Skyhawks came along, and I was able to kind of step into this role here. So
I,
hopefully
I love
everything's
it, man.
okay. All of a sudden, we got construction going on. I don't know where it comes. Is that all
No,
right?
I don't hear anything, so it's okay. So I
Perfect.
love it, man. I honestly love it because I know in America you have a lot of amazing sports, but here where I'm from in Argentina, we love soccer, right? As in many other countries in the world, and so I'm with you that you're in the soccer space. I love it. So do you have a favorite player?
No, honestly, I don't. I really try to keep, especially when I was doing, when I was working, coaching at college and pro, right? You are so immersed in soccer all the time, and if you're not careful when you go home, your wife doesn't get too happy if you're watching more soccer and doing it
Yeah.
and paying attention. So I really try to really separate myself. And for me, when I watch a game or players, I just kind of root for the best soccer. Like I just want to see good soccer. I don't really care who's really playing right then. I don't care the names of the players. Like I just really want to see just a good game, and
Yeah.
that's what's really most important to
Now
me.
that's awesome. So that's great. So I know you go way back in the sports field. I know that Skyhawks go way back in the I mean with their story. They started a long time ago, and as we said, everything transformed. And I know from our previous call that there were a few like turning points in the company or key eventualities in the company, right? So for example, you mentioned that I don't know in 2013 you started franchising, right?
I think it was we actually started franchising a little bit like 2009. I think we started
Okay.
franchising and then, but we made a bigger push and then. But in 2013, we actually bought another company that worked with the top ages, right? So that's probably like so it was like so we were doing a lot of the 4 or 5 year olds up, and then we bought a company that works with called Super Tots, Soccer Tots at the time, and we changed it to Super Tots. So we do a variety of different sports, but that was for like the 18 months to 5 year olds so that we can really close that gap and create that infrastructure in there. But yeah, we started kind of the franchise in 2009, but then we really started making the bigger push, bigger emphasis in 2012, 2013, especially when we brought on the tot side.
That's great. And how many of them do you have right now?
So it varies a little bit. Right now, we're between 43 and 50. And rising, we're adding in right now. Our growth trend right now is about 12 to 15 new franchisees a year at least. And coming off of COVID and going through COVID, it's great to be able to see that still, right? That didn't hinder our growth at all on that front.
Yeah. So that I mean that's great and that's a lot. I worked with franchisees as I told you in a previous call, and I know how hard that could get. And I know about the benefits too. So would you like to mention the audience or just give them advice on when they should be looking to, analyzing uh to start franchising their business?
Yeah, it varies a little bit because for us, we're so summer heavy up here in the United States because that's when the kids are out of school. That's when you can do 80% of your business is all summer. And so for a lot of franchisees that are coming on, we suggest try to get in place so that way you can get something out of the summer, right? Get that one summer going, even if it's a small programming, small sales, whatever that looks like. At least you kind of get that going so you can build into it and you don't miss that summer. So for a lot, that October, November time, so you can get things in, get the sales going and piece going is really important. But really, since we are year round, we run year round programming on the fall and after school programming, PE programming, evening programming, weekend stuff. They can start anytime and start building up that base.
Yeah, I mean, they should have probably a solid business first, right before starting to, franchise into someone else, or they can start from day one. What do you think?
Yeah, so yeah, usually a franchise when they buy into us, and they get the Skyhawks way, all the curriculum, all the resources, everything we have to provide, just like any other company that's franchising out. Some of our areas may already have kind of that book of business where it might have been a corporate area. So a franchise comes in, they might spend a little bit more, but they already have numbers, they already have camps going, they already have partners in place
Oh,
there. So their ability to scale and grow and make money is a lot quicker. If a franchisee comes in and buys a territory, right, they might buy, half a city, a full city, a whole state, whatever they decide, and there's no book of business there, then it takes obviously a little bit longer to create those partners, to create that growth there. But once you kind of get that going, right, you might have one program that might have 15 kids in it first year, but then the second year you're going to have 30, right? So because that'll just continue to grow as the word gets out and market. But for the first year, it is a little bit challenging as you're just starting to create those relationships. And if you don't really have some of those relationships in place, yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get there.
yeah. And when we say that having the right partners and franchising in general can accelerate the business growth, Why do you think that? How did this help? This company at least grow and accelerate it.
Right. Yeah. So, we are a for-profit company, right? And so when you're for-profit, sometimes it limits what you can do when you're talking about working within the community. So we found that for us, partnerships are so important to our growth. We don't have our own facilities. We don't have our own parks. We have some access, we can do our own marketing, social media, email blasts, but we still have to find a way to get in front of these kids, to get these kids out to our programs. And once they're in our programs, right, we can also sell them goods, right? Shin guards, soccer balls, all that kind of stuff. But we know we got to get in front of them. We got to get them there. So our partners are so important to us. So we will go to an area. So let's say where I live, Spokane, Washington. Um, we'll go to the Parks and Rec here, and we'll create a partnership with them that has them making some money from our programs that we're running, but now we're co-marketing these programs. It allows us to market all the kids in the schools. It allows us to have access to the parks, so we can grow 2-3 times as fast as if we just kind of plopped down ourselves, grabbed a park, and started out doing our own paid ads and so forth, right? And so it might cost us maybe a 20% commission, for every child that registers for those programs to that partner, but we get a park, we get marketing on top of that, right? We get another group pushing and saying, hey, these are great opportunities. You guys should be participating in it. So we can grow much faster with that, right? And
Yeah,
that's just at the local, that's at the local level. So giving you an example, one area might have 30 or 40 of those local partners that they're working with to grow their brand across that area. And then we, of course, have our national partners that we work with also to help build up our sports verticals, to make those stronger, to make those even more marketable for those kids that want to participate.
awesome. And for those listening that are looking to starting to franchise their business, um, would you say that they need to put some systems in place to control the situation, to control the communication, to control the service they provide, or what did you have to put in place to support this? Do you remember that?
We have, so the great thing, we built our own, we call it activity tree, our own operating system for registrations. So that allows us to have good immediate control because we can see what's kind of coming in, what's going out, how things are structured. So that's great. We're not always calling somebody else and trying to map through things. So all of our franchisees can get involved in that. We have our own, the corporate area, right? We have our own marketing team that sits down and helps create a marketing plan with all of our franchisees. We have our finance department that sits down and goes through the whole finance and their profit loss analysis with them and what that looks like. We have a sales team that goes in and works with the new franchisees to create a sales plan, to go out to the orgs, to create those partners, to work with them on those partners. And so each department, we have so many departments, each department, those franchisees sit down with those departments and actually work through everything there. So that way they have as much success as possible. And I like to refer to it as like, you have to work to fail, really here. If you're not asking the right questions, if you're not really working, you're going to fail, right? But we're here for you, and your success is our success, right? And so we want to help you out as much as possible.
Yeah, I was going to add a comment in that. Direction is like your success. Is our success, as you said, and that's entirely true because you're in the same boat. You accelerate growth because you have people thinking like you, like they want to grow in the same direction that you want to grow, and it's like the key things. Based on my experience, probably in different industries, in the food industry and in some other industries, with I don't know, hundreds of franchisees, it's like every person is different. They have a different like business knowledge, different knowledge in general, right? Different fears, different ways of seeing things, and it's important that the the company as a whole can put a unified message in front of the audience, right? To control the message, to control the marketing, to control the service quality. So I think there are a lot of things that, depending, of course, on the industry, I'm not saying that this necessarily applies to you guys, but for different industries, it might apply that we need to whenever we add more workforce, in this case franchisees, we make sure we build a culture around it and they feel a part of that, and the message that people receive is the same regardless of which location they choose to go to.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. We try to have the same message. I mean, we're in 33 states, two other countries, right? So we try to always have that same message that go out there. Our curriculum is always the same. We want the programs, the products being the same everywhere out there. And so we really are working with them. And the franchisees, that even our area managers that work for us in our corporate areas, you know, they come from different backgrounds. We got some that are sporting background, like myself. We got some that are they've got an engineering degree and they don't have much of a background, but they want to own their own business and they like sports. We have some that are just parents, you know, their parents and their kids actually went through our Skyhawks programs and they loved it so much they wanted to be involved in it, right? And so, you know, the message still wants to be the same, but how we work with each of them ends up being a little bit different because some of them really understand the sports and the curriculum, but they may not really understand the business side. Some really understand the business side, but they need help with the coaching, the curriculum piece of it, right? And so we have to kind of, you know, figure all those pieces out.
Yeah, and to everyone listening, this is not only advice from anyone, this is like you correct me if I'm wrong, but the top company in the category, right? And one of the fastest growing, right?
Yeah, so yeah, the Entrepreneur 500, when it just came out, we are number one in our category. I think we're, yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it's awesome to be there. We are the fastest growing franchise out there right now, or one of them. I guess I can't say exactly. I'm not sure if we're exactly number one or we're one of the fastest growing. And then and we're like 137 of the top franchises in the around. So we're really excited about that, right? That just shows, you know, the direction that we're going and the care that we put in to our company and our franchisees.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but based on the previous conversation we had, you mentioned something interesting about like uh you using like a proprietary software for e-commerce versus a standard one. And that probably stayed in my mind. So I just wanted to double check if that's accurate.
I'm sorry, one more time. I missed that.
No, no, yeah. So the software they use for e-commerce, like a standard one, or doing that on your own, use.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. So as I said, we had built our own registration platform, right? So you know, our e-commerce is twofold, right? We have our e-commerce is find kids, get them in our programs and registered for our program. So there's that sale, that product, that's kind of around that. And then we have our other e-commerce side of things, which is the goods that are being sold, like the shin guards and cinch snacks and water bottles and such. And so when we built our own registration platform, we knew eventually, you know, that had been going for years, and eventually we wanted to get into that e-commerce to help provide these goods to these parents and kids. So instead of having an e-commerce platform at that time and just kind of building it, putting it into ours, we kind of built one inside of our registration platform. So it kind of mirrors a little bit of our registration platform. Well, as we're finding right now, it's actually pretty challenging for us, and it doesn't help. It's not really helping us grow to where we want to be. So we actually now need to go out and find a good platform that we can hopefully integrate into our registration platform and sync in together so that way we can grow that part of our business.
Got it. Okay, so talking about people, books that you saw a lot of influence in, or you found like inspiration. I know you told me you don't have a favorite player. I don't know if you have a favorite team, but probably you have favorite books and some mentors, right?
You know, just when I was first, it's ebbed and flowed over the years, right? When I was first 19, 20 years old, and I knew that I kind of really liked soccer and I really kind of wanted to be in that space and take coaching certifications, I just started, you know, going to the library and finding any book that was related into coaching tactics, you know, plans, anything like that. So I was finding all that information. And so then once I started going along and we're winning a lot, right? Things kind of tailor down a little bit and you kind of lose a little bit on your research because you think you're doing a lot of good things. And when I started here, I started kind of trying to research a little bit, to get into the e-commerce world of things. But lately I've been reading a lot on just kind of the leadership and personal growth, communication. So I don't really have like one favorite book. I mean, kind of, I just read the Disney Way, which I think was kind of really exciting. It talks about Walt Disney and his attention to detail on things and how important that was. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I was looking for something because I wanted to give you a name because I booked recently an interview with a former Disney executive, and well, I think he's still a Disney executive. Uh, and yeah, that will be a great one. We have already discussed a few interesting things, but since you mentioned the Disney way, he's actually a part of the Disney way, so that will be fun. And I will send you the link,
Oh,
of course, once we do. But yeah, please continue. You triggered that, and I was trying to to remember his name, and yeah, I got it.
yeah, no, it's, yeah. So that's kind of like where I've gone. I've kind of come back to this, that growth model right now. And then as you know, and we talked about kind of mentors and people that have helped me along the way. One of the biggest ones for me was the first college where I started coaching, Peninsula College. The president there, Dr. Thomas Keegan, he was a guy who actually had coached in college, won a championship for coaching in college and playing in college in the same league that we were in, at just a different school. So he'd kind of gone through everything that I was going through, and to be able to talk with him about like how he went from player to coach to administration to president along those pathways was fantastic. And he just always talked about like when you know it's the right time to move on, and like what the 10 most important things are to you and how they shift over the years. So you might be, hey, you might a lot of freedom and money, but benefits are lower, but now benefits are higher when you have kids. And he talked a lot about that. But one of the biggest things he said, because when I first started, the team I took over, we were not very good. We lost a lot of games. And he pulled me aside, after like 6 or 7 games into it, we haven't won a game, right? And we're getting demolished. And he pulled me aside and he just goes, listen, and when I was at a junior college, so it's a 2-year college, and he's like, I'm not evaluating on how you do this year or not next year. It's how you do in year 3, because at that time, that is your team. You've recruited, you've created a philosophy, you've got things moving in a direction that you want. He goes, that's where if things aren't going good, then we have to sit down and have a chat. But not, don't worry about it. Put
That's
your
great
things in place.
advice. That's
Yeah.
great.
And so I was like, yeah. And as a 24-year-old, I was like, oh, right. So it's not about what happens tomorrow. It's not about what happens next month, a year from now. We are building for the 3 years, the 5 years, the 7 years, the 10 years down the line. And so that's a lot of what has gotten me kind of where I'm at now, is trying to look ahead and trying to put things in place and say, this is great now, but what does that mean 3 years from now, and not worry about the losses that we're going to take right now, because that's just going to make us stronger later on.
Yeah, and that I think it's not only a great advice, but it's timeless because right now we live in a much faster world than back then, probably, and it's everyone want like everyone wants the overnight success, and they want results for yesterday, not even for tomorrow, for yesterday. And
Yep.
it's great to have. It's important to extrapolate that to the business world and let your team know that they have your support to take the time to build whatever they need to build in order to achieve success. Leadership team, even the frontline team, like as you said, it's we need to probably live up to those things and implement them ourselves, right? So that's
Yeah. A lot of franchisees come in and they want that immediate success. They want 10,000 kids in the summer, and it's like you're going from 0 to 10,000 in 9 months. Like
yeah,
it took some areas 20 years to get there. Not saying you can't get there earlier. I mean, nowadays, right? You can, versus the marketing that you were back then. But it's like you got to give yourself some time. You got to put the things in motion. You get 10 kids now, you got 20 kids next, right? And so, yeah.
yeah. I think it's a two-way street. I mean, it's one thing is that new people into the, let's say a new franchisee, they don't know what to expect because they've never done it before. Probably they did it, but not under your wing or anything like that. But but you need to communicate that to them as well because you have a lot of knowledge and they have a lot of fears.
Yeah.
And you do have fears because they are new, and they have fears because they know you. So it's like, is this going to work? It's the what it's called, buyer remorse. That's a great book on that. I don't recall the name right now, but probably will be in the show notes. So it's like client satisfaction and the clients for life for the first 100 days for a client, and the buyer remorse is like everyone goes through it. We buy something and it's like, oh, is this the right thing for me? Is this not going to work? At 1 week, not even 6 or 7 games, is like probably that's I don't know how many times a week they play, but it's probably I don't know once a week or I don't know. So it's like probably 2 months. Right? It's like, hey, is this going to work? I have clients complaining last time, so it's like, hey, it's been a week, why it's not working? It's like, hey, let's communicate how let's set expectations right, and that's really important, the communication. And so yeah, that's going back to the advice. It's it's a great one, and I think that yeah, everyone should be aware of that. And yeah, a great one as well. So what was the name of the person you said?
Dr. Thomas Keegan.
Okay, Dr. Thomas Keegan. Great advice. Thank you. Thank you. We'll mention you as well in the show notes because you deserve that. Okay, so to wrap up, is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you think that will benefit the audience?
Um, you know, as I look back, and something I instill a lot with my teams and the groups that I work with right now, don't strive for perfection, because when you don't hit perfection, this leads for a lot of angst and anger and disheartenment. Always strive to be better. So be better tomorrow, be better the next day, and so forth. So if you're not happy with it, just go out and be better. Be careful with trying to be perfect.
Yeah, of course. And where can people go to find more about your company and about the company and about you as well, if you want?
Yeah, so www.skyhawks.com. That goes right there. They have all the information. Is franchise stuff. There's how to coach for us. There's how to register your kids for us. There's links into all a lot of our corporate staff that are here. All of our national partners that we're partnered with are also showcased there. So you can find the wealth of knowledge.
That's awesome. It was a pleasure having you on. Thanks for being on the show.
Brian, thank you very much for having me.